Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about Jedi Survivor, which just very recently has gotten an update that has removed Denuvo. Thank you, Electronic Arts. Took you a long time to do so, but I am glad that you finally have removed Denuvo. Now, it is going to be a bit tricky to talk about like, oh, what's the performance of the game right now compared to where it was on launch? Because, for instance, I am using the same GPU as, I did when I actually finished the game, a 4070 Ti. But I have upgraded my CPU by quite a substantial amount. So I went from a 9700K to a 14700K. Yes, the line that has the issues, though I've avoided those. But I also crucially upgraded my memory from DDR4 to DDR5, and I gotta tell you, there is a pretty substantial difference in performance from DDR4, or rather the DDR4 that I had, to the DDR5. Now, I am using a filter over here to, well, improve a couple of things. And I am also playing this with RTX HDR, so I'm gonna go over my settings, but when this game came out, it was damn near unplayable on any system. AMD, Nvidia, Intel, didn't matter. Any computer, even the highest end computers, could not play this game effectively. Yes, you could possibly get decent frame rate, but you could drop your settings to the lowest possible level and you would not get, say, 60 FPS. So let me go over my settings very, very quickly over here to show you, to tell you what I'm using. I've set everything to the highest possible level except the following things. I've turned off anti-aliasing. Why have I turned off anti-aliasing? Well, because it has DLSS free now. And DLSS has better anti-aliasing, provides better anti-aliasing than any other method. Like if you have a game with either FSR or with DLSS, especially with DLSS, or DLAA, some games do have that explicitly, you want to use that because it is the best anti-aliasing method. Now, some games, quite a few of them in point of fact, don't have DLAA as an option. If you can use DLAA, that's the best option, by the way, because it doesn't affect your in-game resolution or anything like that. You're just getting the AI-powered anti-aliasing. This game doesn't have that. It just has the upscaler. I've set it to quality over there, right? So I am losing a bit, though not really noticeable, graphical quality. I think like I would have to look at the pixels over here on my display to be able to tell that. I am not using frame generation. I have turned on ray tracing and I've turned off HDR because I'm using RTX HDR. Why RTX HDR? Because RTX HDR is the best HDR method, pretty much. Like, to give you an idea of how bloody good RTX HDR is, someone did a very thorough analysis of comparing, say, RTX HDR versus Cyberpunk's HDR, and there were some benefits, in particular in performance. So RTX HDR is going to cost you more in performance, but in terms of quality, it had its advantages and a couple of disadvantages. But you got to understand, Cyberpunk is kind of like the freaking gold standards of performance. Graphical. Okay, Cal, that's bizarre. It's like, yeah, I know. So, this game was damn near unplayable. And yet now, here, in this area was a nightmare. I could drop to 20, 30 FPS. Same GPU, different CPU, to be sure. Now, I wouldn't necessarily compare it, but you gotta understand. The situation is not like, oh, I'm using DLSS, that's the major difference. No, it's not. I played this game with modded frame generation, and I would not get 75 FPS over here. Now, obviously, my CPU and RAM do play a major difference, but here's the fact. The facts of the matter. Certainly, some things have improved. They've also released a bunch of patches. They've also improved the game from a damn near unplayable mess that I had to get a paid freaking frame generation mod to make it even remotely playable, and even then, it still wasn't great. This is much better. Why am I not using frame generation? I find, let me just say this. Frame generation generally works, But when you're using frame generation with recording software, even if it's NVIDIA software, there's problems with that. Because, like, if I were to turn it on, certain things might go very badly. Or it happens sometimes, like, you're starting a recording and, yeah, things go to hell. But, yeah, like, if I were to enable... And weirdly enough, like with frame generation enabled over here, I'm certainly feeling like certain performance dips that I wasn't before. And maybe it just takes a while to kick in. I don't know, like it's not kicking in. So, come on game, there we go. There's your frame generation. Sometimes I do notice the drop in graphical quality, other times I don't. Though, gotta wonder, where is the boost freaking option? Maybe it's just inherently baked in, right? Maybe boost is worth it, though. Maybe enabling frame generation is worth it just for the boost. But right now it's showing 104, 105. It's dropping to 96, 90, about 100 or so. If it's going to 105, it's capping out the frame rate I've set on my system. So I've limited my FPS in games to 105. Why have I limited that? Partly because I don't want my GPU to become a jet engine all of a sudden, which, yeah, it's a real thing. Like, right now, my computer is hot, but, yeah, it's a bit bizarre. I don't really feel like this is kind of one of the things to say over here. Like, if you look at frame generation, you pay attention to what's happening on the water over there, so basically, like, everything in this section kind of looks a bit weird, right? And if I turn frame generation off, it still looks a bit weird, but maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just inherently like that. I don't know. Sometimes, like, it's those kind of details that can be difficult, but I'm using a clarity filter. It's not the sharpness filter. I'm using clarity filter. I'm using RTX HDR. Yeah, and I'm also using an FPS meter from MSI Afterburner to be able to show this. So, yeah, let's just say that I'm kind of stressing my computer all this, because the compatibility between all of these programs is not great necessarily and can cause you various small performance issues, but yeah, it's good to see these guys are still as annoying as ever. Throw it. But like one of the things that really killed my enjoyment of this game is like you would get stuttering. It wasn't even a question about like, oh, is the FPS this value? No, you would get stuttering like I just did over there. And I think that is the principal benefit that we get from no longer having freaking Denuvo, because this is a lot smoother than it was before. Now, bear in mind, I didn't play the previous version, just the previous patch, so I can't really compare it to that. Other people have done comparisons. Some people have said that... Okay.
You will die. I will face you again. You won't last long.
There we go.
Could use a little help, BD.
Yeah, that's pretty. Like overall, this feels pretty great. Honestly, it feels like smoother in a lot of ways than playing with Elden Ring. Yeah, Elden Ring has a lot of stuttering. I'm not sure if Elden Ring uses Denuvo, but it's the constant online connection. But I'm sure anyone who's played Elden Ring knows what the fuck I'm talking about, like that stuttering. There are mods that do unlock the frame rate and allow you to play offline, but I think that kind of like stuttering when the game is auto-saving does happen. I think it's because of the auto-saving situation.
I wonder if they'll grow in our garden.
That is happening over there. That's the problem. But yeah. Dropping to 60 FPS over here, 70 FPS in the bar area. What's like I got so many crashes trying to access this area when the game came out. Like it was not fun. And this is not like a skippable area. No. This is a principal game area you actually have to visit multiple times for various objectives, and it was just painful. Frame drops, loading issues, crashes, you name it. It would just be horrendous. I think it's because there's a lot of verticality over here, so you've got stuff inside the bar itself, but then there's also stuff underground right here. Yes, under you. And not just a bit of stuff, a lot of stuff, which is probably all being rendered at the same time. So that's one of the reasons I imagine that there's so many performance dips that still happen here. And I know that I have a high-end computer and I am really pushing things. Now, my curiosity here, what happens if, right, if I drop, you know, ray tracing, if I drop everything, will it actually go to a higher FPS? That is my question. That is something I want to know. So this is lowest possible setting. Still not, like, this game's... I don't know. What the hell is going on here? So either I need to try and go to the main menu to, you know, save. And is it really that different? Like, I'm not noticing, so I don't think it's actually saving my settings properly over here. Something's really funky. Because you can't tell me that the game on low looks the exact same. I mean, I did turn off ray tracing, that's for damn certain. That is absolutely the case over there. Also, can we get rid of these kind of like, oh, I'm walking very slowly for the bar? It's like, it so breaks the game flow. I'm not even joking. Yeah, I don't think the graphical settings are saving properly. What is up with that? Maybe I do need to... So, you're telling me that I dropped the settings to the lowest possible level and it changes nothing. What? Okay, yeah, that's certainly dropping in quality. Like, you can certainly see a difference over there in how that wall looks like. So if I put this on Epic, right, keep ray tracing off. Yeah, that looks a lot better on higher settings. I lose about, so 74, 75, just standing still, 79. Okay, let me just not move the camera. So 77 in this exact position. If I drop the visuals from the highest freaking possible level to the lowest possible level, okay, that gives me 105 FPS, which is my computer limit, by the way. Like, yeah. So there is obviously a performance gain. Now, the question is, would it drop below 100? Yeah, it would. Well, 104 can happen sometimes, right? But if I go back to that bar, 103, 104, like if it's 104, it's, you know, just a moment. 101, yeah. So it's certainly still dropping. I did gain about 20 FPS though. 95. Jeez. This bar. What is up with this place? This is the worst bar in the world. So 88. And I know my GPU is not stressed. I know it's not stressed even if I enable everything enable. Like there's a really bad optimization in the game. Do you know how I know? Because if my GPU was 105 limit, I would hear it. I am not hearing it. So yeah, that is like, you sometimes change settings, you enable ray tracing, and you barely notice a performance dip. Fundamentally, did Denuvo help? Yeah, I would say so. The removal. Screw Denuvo. Every game that I've played with it, there's been some issues. Now, they might be minute issues. Crucially, interesting for myself and this channel, Warhammer 3 uses Denuvo. And I don't feel Denuvo in that. Except in certain stuttering situations or all that. So it might not affect your top FPS, but it might affect your lows. It might, the 1% lows. It might affect your loading times. It might affect loading, stuttering, all that kind of stuff. That is the impact of Denuvo, because it's using your CPU ultimately. So your CPU, dependent on the game, may not, you know, necessarily impact FPS that much. Cause it depends. Like, there's games that are GPU limited. There's games like this one. I feel this one is kind of CPU limited or whatever. I don't know how much of the CPU this is using. But I certainly know it's not 100% either with that. Because, yeah, I would know. Even if MSI Afterburner is not willing to show me that, then I try to. So regardless, impact of Denuvo may not necessarily feel that much, but is there. It's a much smoother experience without it. So fuck Denuvo, and thank you for finally doing what you should have done on day freaking 1 EA. Costin signing out.